The review must go on. The review must go on. Speaking of going on, this is Doug Walker, and I'm going to talk to you about what I think is actually my favorite thing I've ever done, actually. I really, really enjoy this, and I'm so glad how it turned out. And obviously there was, I don't want to say controversy, but there was certainly a lot of people wanted to see the critic come back, and demo reel was not pulling in the numbers we wanted. But everything that was represented here is very true, that the second wind was sort of coming in again, and if it did seem like we did sort of need to go back to Nostalgia Critic, there was a sense of, okay, I can do this, I want more time, though. Because we were being told that we can do Nostalgia Critic and other shows. You know, if we wanted to keep doing demo reel, we could, but we need to do Nostalgia Critic as well. And I did not want to half-ass it. I mean, there's always, like, some things I can do very easy. I can do Ask That Guy very easy. I can do bum reviews very easy. And they were like that from day one. But with sort of the main show, the show that you can say, yes, I put a lot of time and effort into this, you want to do exactly that. You want to put a lot of time and effort into it. So we made the agreement that it would be 2 weeks, and that every other week I do, like, an editorial. And we go from there, and Mike was totally okay with that. And I love still working in Malcolm and Rachel into the episodes as well, too, because, again, we didn't want to just keep it the guy in front of the white wall just complaining, and that's it. You know, we want to try new stuff, and you know, the one new thing we tried, you know, it didn't work. Okay, that's part of it. I mean, this was a risk. You know, and what people forget about risks is that they can just as easily fail as, you know, succeed. So, and no regrets about it at all. I'm really glad that we did demo reel. I'm glad we met these two great performers. I'm glad we expand our horizons. And I like every episode. I don't dislike demo reel. I'm not going to say like it was perfect or anything, and I'll definitely make fun of the fact that it failed. But I'll never look at it as like a Melvin or a Bart's Nightmare or something. I really stand by, I stand by the show, and I very much enjoy it. But with that said, there was sort of talk, well, do we tie it into demo reel? Do we bring him back? What do we want to do? And I really want to do... I want to make it very clear to people that this was not an easy choice, and it was a choice that we took very seriously, and most importantly, it was not done because people just wanted to see it again, because I think that would be a mistake. If we really felt there was nothing left to do with the character, to do with the reviews, or anything we could add, and we were just bringing it back to please people, that would be bad. But... like I said before, I was feeling the second wind again. I think taking that break away from it did sort of start to breathe new ideas, and the idea of having 2 weeks on it suddenly was opening up new ideas, and that we could do stories and characters and, you know, push what we can do with a review, you know, which is what we're, you know, continuing to try and do. And I like that there is a distinction between the reviews being done now and the reviews being done before demo reel. So I greatly enjoy it, and I love this stuff because I think I forget it was late high school or early college, but I had an idea to do a Jekyll and Hyde about a college student, and it was about the stress of, you know, school work and pressure of, you know, succeeding. And, you know, and Jekyll obviously would form another personality. I had all these cool ideas, and a lot of them worked their ways in here. Some I couldn't quite get. I always wanted one where the other personality was in the backseat of a car in shadow. I couldn't quite work that in, but I got the mirror bit, I got seeing him out of the corner of the eye, and finally having a real conversation. So it's, again, if you know, especially, like, I know I'm never going to be able to do that Jekyll and Hyde, you know. It's just, I don't have enough passion to go all the way with it. So you work into other ideas. A lot of names and plot threads for other things. I mean, Rob and I had for other things. Malachite actually was the name of a villain for some other things that we had put together, but when we knew we're not going to get to it, it's like, yeah, let's use it for Suburban Nights. So there's definitely a great emphasis on we had to show that this was a process because we knew we were going to get a lot of people saying, "Oh, you just caved into what the people wanted," and it definitely wasn't that. And I think, especially if you can see the way the episodes are being done now, that if it was that, we would just keep doing what we're doing. Put the guy in front of the wall, and just yell and nothing else. But, we do like trying to do things with it. Now we got the editorials, we got sketches to go along, we have other actors, and it's wonderful. So, but getting back to how we came up with this, so I really wanted to do that. I wanted to show the writer from To Boldly Flee, myself, dealing with the idea that maybe the critic should come back. And I like the reversal that now, instead of the writer controlling the critic and someone breaking loose, it's the other way around. Now the critic is sort of controlling the writer. Again, and you don't think about doing that. It's sort of the next evolution of the character. You sort of think the character's gone, but now how do you bring him back? Well, maybe the character is so, it was strong enough that actually it can come back. So it was so much fun. That's a great idea. Now, Rob's idea, though, was that the critic and Donnie Dupre should be the same person because he always hated seeing the comments saying, we want a nostalgia critic, and he wanted to tie them into being the same person so he could shout, "Ha-ha, they were the same person the whole time, you idiots!" So he mostly wrote the demo reel stuff, and I pretty much wrote the stuff with the writer and the critic. And the other great thing, one of the reasons I love this one so much, is that all of this, anything that's just me in it, was shot by myself, even the demo reel stuff. If there's other people in it, obviously, I had to shoot with other people there, but pretty much all of this that you see was done in one day. I got up at about 8 a.m. and I went until about midnight. And I think it comes from being an illustrator for a while, but there is this great joy to working alone. And it's not that I dislike working with people. I like working with people very much, especially because they give you ideas, they can deliver lines in ways you never thought of, they can point out when you're doing stuff wrong. I mean, there's obviously huge advantages to working with people. But the downside is that you're also very much responsible for them. You have to make sure, you're not going over time. You have to be sure, you're not working them too hard. And I think I've finally come to grips with what everyone's been telling me, is that I just have more energy than the average person, which I never really thought I did. I mean, people told me that, but it's like, oh, no, it's just when I'm performing. It just looks like I have a lot of energy. But people have finally said, no, dude, you have a lot of energy. Like, I guess even when they see me talk, they can tell I have a lot of energy. So while I'm running around saying, hey, come on, guys, let's go. I mean, other people are really, really having trouble keeping up. And that's not fair, and that's not cool. I mean, I don't know. It's like if a bodybuilder came up to me lifting like 100 pounds and threw it to me and said, "Oh, come on, keep up with me." It's just not a cool thing to do. But the one advantage to that is that you can do so much on your own. And one of the great things about it is that, like, these shots, I had so much time. I had the whole day to spend on them and to get the lighting right and to just put it together however I wanted to put it together and not have to explain anything and not worry about time, not worry about anything, just let sort of the creativity breathe. And that's also a great advantage. So there is a great advantage to working with people. There's a great advantage to working on your own as well. I think another reason this looks so good, two reasons why this looks as good as it does. One is that the frame rate is different, which now I'm using it for everything. I finally asked at Glazer, I said, look, I'm noticing there's a way that people are getting this quality of film but they can get it off of normal video cameras. What is it? And he said it's the frame rate, and he showed me the frame rate that you can do, and I was just like, wow, this just looks infinitely better. Now, the one downside is that sometimes it can export clunky, which like it'll go choppy. You have to watch out for that. But yeah, it really looks great. But the other reason it looks so good outside of the time to set up the shots and try various shots too. That was another thing. Like a lot of these, I would try 3 or 4 different angles for each shot. Is that this is a new house and we color the walls these colors, and these colors just look unbelievable on film. They just do. And I think seeing how nobody really saw the house before, they were just taken back at how much color was in it. I like this. I think this is the first time we've actually talked to, sort of the producers not in their characters. Which essentially, as you see, I mean, it still is kind of their characters. Lewis will still talk to his, his puppets and such, and, Lindsay will still try to kill me, or whatever it is she had in mind for Nella to do. Lewis might be the only person to be as obsessed with his job as I am. Which is not bad at all. It makes him an unbelievably hard worker. He gives a lot of takes. And, I mean, to a point, like, when I asked him to do this cameo, he was like, oh, sure, and I had some other ideas as well, I'll throw in there. And I thought he'd just improvise a line or two or something like that, but he had, like, whole scenes scripted out, and he's like, okay, so here's what I would say here, and then you would say this, and I would say this, and you would say this, and I'm just like, dude, I'm editing now. This is all in the footage. He's like, after I say this line, you would say this line. I'm like, my stuff is shot. I had to take the equipment back. But again, there's someone that just always wants to go, above and beyond. I love this. I love putting that plushie together. Just the pacing in this is really good too. When I showed this, I showed this to Rob. I showed him the script first. He wasn't that into it. He especially said he wanted the demo reel stuff redone, so he rewrote it and made it much better. But this stuff, he sort of thought it'd be too slow. It was too much talking. It wasn't gonna turn out that good. And literally the day it was gonna go up, I showed it to him. We actually shot his reaction shot when Nell drives up that day too. But I'll get to that when we get to that. So he watched it and just said, "Dude, that was like wow." He said, I think it's the best thing you've done. It looked great. The pacing was great. The editing was great. He's like, this is really great. So, yeah, I mean, I think there is... It is nice to do something on your own, but at the same time, yeah, there's disadvantages to that too. Like I said, I make lots of mistakes. And if nobody is there to catch me, I'll still make the mistakes. Now you see there's a little thing in the corner there on the screen. That's because this is actually in a different room. It's actually in the room next door that I think I shot a bum review in. That's about it. I haven't shot much because it's actually my wife's office. But it has a wall color that's very, very similar. The only thing is I could not get rid of that little patch there. So thankfully not too many people notice it. This was another idea from the Jekyll and Hyde, was him talking on the computer. And this is risky because a lot of this is very dramatic and you don't know if it's going to pay off. You still have punchlines. I mean, like I said, you can get away with a lot as long as you have a good punchline in there. But how far can you push this? How much can you get away with? And people responded unbelievably well to this, not just because the critic was coming back, but just how we brought him back. And making sure that majority of the questions that people would have and the reasons why were explained. Now, if you look on that coat, too, you'll see there's a little white smudge on that coat. Since I've gotten another coat, and that's actually my stunt coat that I wear. And it's because at this one con, I wonder if this young woman even remembers, but there was a young woman that had makeup on her face, like clown makeup, and she put her cheek, she gave me a hug, and her cheek went on my jacket, and the white smeared off. I could not get rid of it. So now that's always my stunt jacket. If I'm ever going to throw water on myself or get it dirty or something, I put that on. So if you ever see me with a white smudge, there's probably a stunt coming up. I really love this bit coming up with him busting in. I'm curious how many people have discovered the do a barrel roll trick on Google. If you don't know, when you type in do a barrel roll and go to Google, it flips around. The screen flips around. Todd's cameo here is great. Anytime the characters can argue, I love arguments. I love when something's supposed to look serious and backfires and just the arguing keeps going. People asked about this room. I obviously got the posters there. A lot of the drawings are mine, some are not. Some are a collection of artwork that I either that were given to me at cons or just stuff I bought in the past. Aw, poor sentimental guy. And this is the Sam Raimi editing. Rob always says, this is the editing I wanted to see for a long time. And I said, I've never had a project that needed it. When we did Demo Reel, I mean, it was the handheld route, and we were trying a different style, again, just experimenting. And that's one of the reasons we couldn't get as many shots as we did, that look like this, because A, we had, obviously the time limit and the cast, and B, it was the style we chose was handheld, and the story eventually went to it was more them not making the movie and them and their own adventures. So a lot of it had to be handheld, which I didn't mind. I think it was, considering that it's handheld, I think it still looked pretty cool. But now here's some funny stuff. The shots here. The pull-out shot, I didn't say have a pull-out shot, but I love that shot. I think that kind of style is coming back again, where it's, they usually say if you're going to track in and track out, actually do that, don't zoom in, because it's really cheap. But I think it's really starting to come back when people can find effective ways to do it. This is definitely a very effective, hilarious way. That is so funny. And Nella throughout all this is hilarious. She almost corpses there. See that? Almost smiles. At her look. She goes very dark, Nella. Okay, now this bit, I said just get a shot of the car backing out, and I don't think they intended this to be funny. I think they just sent me the footage, especially because there's a bit, you can sort of see Nella smiling, and there's a bit where Lindsay Andrew goes, Nella, stop! Because she almost hits the other car. So I obviously edited that out. But, okay, so the bit with that is that I originally had, I said shoot it at night so you can't see where it is, or you can shoot her leaving during the day, but shoot the rest at night. So it looks like it's a different location, and she was going to be in front of my house shouting that, just like, you shouldn't be nostalgia critic, just don't do it, everyone wouldn't like it, and that was supposed to be the evil thing she did, but it's obvious she just drives down the street. So I tried it with the house. I'm like, no, it looks like I just live a block away from Lindsay and Nella's. How would this work? So finally, literally the day it was supposed to go up, I had this idea and I called up Rob. I said, Rob, can you do this really quick cameo? So we literally shot this the morning this video went up. And they actually had no idea that they were going to be talking to Rob. They thought that she'd be shouting at the house. the driving away with the window going up, I think, is great. It just little touches like that, I think, really do add so much. And this audio we did later then too. Yeah, originally there was no answering machine here. There was just me asleep. I just stretched it out to make room for Rob's audio. Why Pee Wee Herman and Mark Wahlberg's penis? I don't know. My mind's fucked up. I have not really had that dream yet, but maybe after I make this commentary I will. Because again, my mind is fucked up. Brian Hines, Last Angry Keep, calls me up and just says, I'm very hurt you didn't ask me to do Pee Wee Herman. Because he does do a very good Pee Wee Herman. That's just a time thing. Brad's cameo is great. I love how the advice just gets not only shorter and shorter, but less and less helpful. It's actually quite the opposite of the way it should work. The more he calls up people, the more it should be leading him closer to his decision, but instead it creates more and more confusion. He gave a lot of good improvs, too. I think I worked most of them in. Didn't that shot turn out great? That silhouette shot. And that is something else I thought was very important to establish, is that if I did have to do the critic for the rest of my life, let's say this is it, you're never going to do anything else, I actually would be okay, because the fact that I've been given this opportunity at all is unbelievable. And you just find ways to work with your limitations and the new things you got. Just working new ideas. Who says you have to do the same thing over and over? And this might be the best jump cut in the history of jump cuts. Again, this whole thing with like the mirror and the double, the splitting down the middle. I wouldn't have discovered that if I wasn't playing around with the shots. I didn't have the time to actually see what kind of various angles I could get. And yeah, no, it turned out really nice. But what I was getting to before with the critic, I decided long ago that it was very, very possible I would not be doing what I wanted for a living. So just make do with what you can and work in whatever creativity wherever you can. And that's, of course, when this stuff suddenly happened. And suddenly I was given so much freedom, because I was fortunate enough to be with a company that does allow so much freedom. And even with this, when I was telling Mike Machado about this idea, he was sort of like, well, okay. He didn't know what to think of it, but he's like, just go for it. And that is what's so great about working for him, is that they will leave you alone. And I couldn't ask for anything better. Really what I want is like, okay, let me just go do my shit and I'll get you the product. And that's what people seem to like to watch, and that's what they post, and they're fine with it. When I say they, I mostly mean Mike. He allows this unbelievable amount of freedom, and I think some people need a lot. They need people to come in and give limitations and say no this, no that, or take care of them or whatever. But it's like, I could not be more thankful that we have a CEO that's like, dude, just do it. Just try it. Do whatever you feel is best. And there are times where he'll disagree, but if I really push for it, which is actually not often, because, if he says something's not going to work, I usually trust him because he so rarely says it won't work. But if I really fight for it, he'll listen. But I don't usually fight for it that hard because I don't need to. I don't think people realize just how rare that is. That is so rare. Even with Demo Reel, he was making advice. He was giving advice about possibly could you try this and try doing that. But it was never do this. Make this happen. It was, can you do this? Is it possible to do this? And if I did fight back, he would probably listen. But I didn't mind a lot of his ideas. And again, so the same thing with Rob. If one of us will really, really push and be like, no, this is really what I believe, we'll either try to find a compromise or we'll just back down. And that is true. This is the movie that brought me back. I saw it on a plane on the way to France for a con, and just all these ideas are coming to my head, and the Chia Chow came to my head, and I was just like, you know what, maybe this could still work. That's my Les Mis shot just to piss off Rob, because he hates the cinematography in Les Mis, and I think it's great. For the most part, there's some stupid shots. I'm surprised how well this all turned out, the ending of Demo Reel, because this is very talk-heavy and not a ton going on visually. But I think the music and the angles and the acting really, really pay off. And thank God we still had the leftover plot hole effect. I like that it's this black and white world and the plot hole is still colored. I thought that was really cool. Isn't this a great shot here? That's a Rob shot. Man, great reveal. Both Malcolm and Rachel, I mean, especially with, you watch the later demo reels, I love that, can do drama wonderfully. And are very good at it. I like when Rob comes up as Carl, and he can't get through. And this is actually the same music used in the Blue Patches bit. It's very nice music. Again, keeping a little bit of comedy, maybe that plays a big part too. If we did it all straight, all serious, all drama here, it's very possible it wouldn't have worked. But actually having it be, putting in those little bits of comedy, it goes a long way. And a lot of these angles, you know, it's the very low angle. They're sort of all kilter and stuff because it would be an unbelievable pain to keep editing out the plot hole in the background. And here also because Rob, Jim, Malcolm, and Rachel were not there. These shots I did on my own. Again, because I said, oh, okay, you guys are done. I mean, I can do this stuff on my own. And I wanted the time to, you know, just experiment. Well, the other thing, too, actually, about doing shots on your own. Now, that's fine. That was a zoom in and me moving forward. The camera actually never moved. And again, you can find new ways of doing stuff like that. And I think another thing about working on your own is that it forces you to make that really good still shot. And we love moving the camera. I mean, we adore it. But the importance of just getting a good still shot is also comes across very effective. And I think a lot of people forget that. That if you can master the still shot and the still angles, you know, then you can move on to the movement, and you can figure out what will make that look good. But if your idea is that there's always going to be movement, always going to be zoom-ins, it's going to get old really fast. Yeah, so this is all Rob's writing, for the most part. I think I wrote... For this I wrote like a light draft, and he said, you know, let me rewrite this, because originally, you know, he said, you know, who are you? And I think I said, I'm the plot hole. And he said, well, no, he's not the plot hole. He's the writer. He's the creator. Let's, you know, and he says that's going to be confusing. So again, another great benefit of when you do have people to work with, they can point out when you're going to make a big mistake. Oh, and this was Rob's idea, too, that douchey... Oh, wait, was it his or mine? Oh, I don't know. It was one of our ideas. The idea of going into the plot hole would be douchey. Because we were like, you know what? I'm sick of this character. It's like, we see enough in the comments. People just obsess over dumb little things. Well, when we came forward, we told Malcolm and Rachel pretty much on the last episode that this was going to be the last episode, because that's when we made the decision. It's sort of when we found out, in a sense, too. We found out just a day or two before. So actually, the way the last episode worked of Demo Reel was not intentional. It was actually going to be, you know, then begin another story arc, but it just turned out like, hey, this is actually a good spot to end. You know, a lot of things to come full circle, and it leads into this really nicely. When we told them, I mean, they're both of them are some of the nicest people. I mean, they are just always cheerful, always eager to work, always come up with good ideas, lots of energy, always smiling. So I didn't know how they were gonna take it, and I told him and Malcolm, oh man, oh that's a shame, and Rachel was just sort of smiling, and I didn't know what to make of it. She just sort of had this polite smile and didn't say that much, and so I thought she was like really mad or really pissed off, and I just said, if something else comes up, we'll use you guys and stuff. I'm really sorry, and I just felt terrible telling them. And she just sort of shrugged and said, I'm just happy people know who I am. Like, this has really gone a long way. I was like, oh, good. And Malcolm was saying the same thing, like, yeah, people are following me on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. I mean, it's really great. So they were very thankful for it, regardless. And I'm glad that we could incorporate him into the Nostalgia Critics, too. It allows him to play more characters. And here's Skitch's great rendition of the theme song. I actually liked it so much I turned it into the theme song. The original title of this was called The Choice, but Rob said it sounded too much like an M. Night Shyamalan film. I think he's right. So literally, I think on the last day I came up with this should be the title. And when I showed it to him, he was just like, much better. The theme sense has changed a little bit. I think, I don't know if he didn't have the real electric guitar there, if Skitch did and they did for the actual theme song, but it is a little different. Oh, there's that controversial wall. So many people had a heart attack about the wall being a different color. Weird. That's all I can say about that. You know what the irony is? I actually don't think Timothy Green is one of my stronger reviews. It's the one that brought me back, and when I watched it, I'm like, I'm glad we're doing different stuff, and there's some good things in here, but I don't think this is actually one of my best ones. She corpse there. I do like that. I like her, the wine is called something like Old Bitch or something like that. Just tell me the title, but I forgot what it was. So there you go, kids. It's really good to be back. I'm really happy to be doing this again. There's this great energy to it. And happy to be doing new stuff with it. And I'm really glad how this turned out. And I will talk to you guys later. Oh, wait, that's right. We still have... This is the downside to actors being so funny. You want to work in their improv as much as possible. But probably my favorite out of all of it is Brad's line here. Classic.